$1.1 billion. That matches nearly the entire losses reported for all of 2018. Over 1,000 of those victims come from the Los Angeles area here in Southern California, with losses totaling more than $73 million. Another indicator of just how fast this crime is growing, I can give you some year over year to date numbers, which reflect a 33% increase in the number of BEC complaints received from victims across the country, accounting for a 71% increase in losses per victim reported by business email compromises, and representing a 183% increase in total losses attributed to all BEC financial victims. As you can see, we're inundated with complaints while a growing number of businesses and individuals are seeing their money leave overseas. And while we have had some success working with banks to stop wire payments, a large majority of these victims do not get their money back, ever. We've done other news stories, other public service advisories, and have conducted outreach to businesses and the banking communities, but this crime is growing exponentially in terms of losses and victims. The romance scams prey on vulnerable populations, but the BEC victims are often reputable companies and conscientious employees who have been fooled by sophisticated cyber frauds into transferring money. And while we are happy to announce these charges today, we are not going to arrest our way out of this problem. And so we continue to educate potential victims. In closing, I'd like to offer some important tips, but I've also brought with me a couple of experts who can answer technical questions about how the frauds are perpetrated. First, businesses must employ precautions. Employees handling monetary transactions are being targeted. Be cautious of requests for urgency, mimicked email addresses, and practice multi-level authentication of monetary transfers. Above all, simply pick up the phone and verify legitimate business partners and authorizations. Individuals who are targeted in romance scams and other scams should never send money to someone they don't know, have not met, and have no reason to trust. Nor should they provide personal or bank account information. These requests are hallmarks of scams that will lead to financial loss, perhaps financial ruin. I urge you to please consider, please caution your vulnerable friends and family members. Contact your bank immediately. Once a business or individual realizes they've been compromised, they need to act quickly to contact their bank to stop any transfers and then contact law enforcement. It's important at this point for me to thank the banking community for their attempts to interdict these transfers before they occur. Also, although it's not part of this investigation, ransomware has become a growing and insidious problem. Ransomware victimizes businesses, law firms, hospitals, municipal governments. Be aware, harden systems, take precautions. Victimization for any of these scams should be reported to the FBI's Internet Crimes Complaint Center. That's IC3, IC, and the number 3.gov, even if you did not lose money. We use this information to open and develop cases and to aggregate losses. More information is also available at fbi.gov. And while the main investigative partners are represented at the podium, many other agencies assisted us throughout this investigation and during today's operation, including the U.S. Department of State, the Osnabrück Public Prosecutor's Office in Germany, the National Crime Agency in the UK, U.S. Postal Inspection Service, HSI, the U.S. Marshals, and CBP, as well as the Ventura County District Attorney's Office. And now I'd like to introduce LA County Deputy District Attorney Warren Cato. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Delacourt. My name is Warren Cato, and I'm a Deputy District Attorney with the LA County's Community Cyber Investigation Response Team. I'm also a member of the task force that was responsible for the takedown today. It's an FBI-led task force, and I'm the prosecutor assigned to that task force to coordinate the state court prosecutions that arrive outside of that task force. I want to first, on behalf of the LA County District Attorney's Office, commend the fine work by the U.S. Attorney's Office, commend the fine work done by the FBI, and especially these two gentlemen behind me, Assistant U.S. Attorney Anil Anthony and Assistant U.S. Attorney Woodring, who are the prosecutors on the federal side on this case. The investigation in this case was significant for a number of reasons. I think the most significant thing is obviously it took down one of the most prolific BEC operations operating in the United States today. It's also been very significant for us at the District Attorney's Office because as a result of this investigation, which has been going on for quite some time, we were able to generate, in conjunction with the U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI, 3 state cases that we filed in which we secured convictions on all 3 of those money mules, and the sentences are ranging between 3 to 10 years. They're now serving those sentences in state prison. We expect to have many more filing as a result of the investigation today, and the Deputy District Attorneys who will be handling that are Deputy District Attorney Michael Fern and Deputy District Attorney Ryan Tracy. I've been asked to talk a little bit about the task force that was involved in the takedown today. It's a BEC task force. I think it's formally called the Tech Task Force now. It was originally the brainchild of a supervisory special agent for the FBI named Michael Song. And Mike Song had this vision back in 2016 of forming a task force that involved collaboration with the U.S. Attorney's Office, the DA's office, the FBI, and all of the different state and local law enforcement agencies in the LA area, combined with collaboration with the banking industry and some cybersecurity firms, as well as intelligence gathering firms. And now it all came together back in 2016. And I think that the success of the operation today is a testament to the wisdom that he had in that vision. So I want to give a special shout out to Mr. Mike Song for putting that together. I want to also give some kudos to some state agencies that have been involved in the investigation at this point. Several investigators for the LA County District Attorney's Office, the Orange County District Attorney's Office, Ventura County District Attorney's Office, the California Franchise Tax Board, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and the San Bernardino Police Department have all been instrumental at various points in this investigation to the success of this operation, as well as the success that we had in our state cases. Just wanted to spend a minute on what we do at the BEC Task Force. As Director Delacourt stated, BEC losses have increased incrementally over the years, and we believe that the only way to effectively combat it is to educate the public. So a significant part of the time that we spend on the task force, and frankly individually, both with the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Sheriff's Department, the DA's office, and the FBI, both individually and collectively, has been educating the public. And we've been doing that on a day in, day out basis. We also do a lot of training for various law enforcement agencies and prosecutorial agencies. And by doing all of that collectively, we hope to really put a dent in the BEC problem that we have here in Los Angeles. So I just want to close once again, congratulate the U.S. Attorney's Office, the FBI on the success of this operation, and just reaffirm the commitment of the LA County District Attorney's Office in working with all of you guys to continue to fight BEC and bring justice for our victims. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Warren. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, we in law enforcement here, federal, state, and local, work as a team. We had a number of matters recently, and we all work together, and this is one of those examples. So at this time, I'm happy to take any questions that anyone might have. Yes, ma'am.
Wanted to know what exactly tipped you off? What began, as somebody mentioned, it began with a single bank account. What was it that made the FBI go in for that?
Great. I think I'll defer to the FBI on that.
The investigation began with the use of a single bank account, the victimization of one particular individual. And when that came to our attention, we began to develop the investigation, which turned out to make this a very extensive criminal conspiracy case, which involved a variety of frauds. But it began from a single victim.
If I'm understanding correctly, when it comes to the romance scheme, it works in 2 ways. One is they just try to get money out of them, but secondarily, they're trying to get them to open accounts to launder the money as well. Is that correct?
That is correct. The romance scams do function, repeat the question, in 2 ways, trying to get the victim to transfer money to established accounts or to open accounts or create businesses on behalf of the cyber criminals. That's what we looked at in large measure in this investigation, where some of the romance scams were created victims who became witting or unwitting money mules to transfer illicit funds stolen through a variety of fraud schemes.
So are any of the victims part of this indictment? When we were talking about the idea of that maybe unwitting or maybe witting victims by opening up those accounts through which the money was laundered?
The money mules, where there's evidence to show that the money mules were as part of the complex conspiracy, those money mules will be charged with the money laundering counts. But individual victims, of course, are not charged with any crimes in this indictment.
And are they kind of broadly described as wealthy seniors, those individuals?
These scams target a variety of vulnerable populations. It might be church communities, it might be elder fraud, it might be individuals likely to fall for romance scams. We refer to them more broadly as vulnerable populations, which is why when we put out our public service announcements, we ask folks in the Los Angeles area to make sure that they are looking out not only for themselves, but for their vulnerable friends and family members, community members, and neighbors.
Can I just add on that? If you take a look at the criminal complaint, for example, there's examples in there of individuals. There's an example, for example, of a woman who's a widow, recent widow, who did not have a lot of money, who borrowed money from friends and family in order to make the payments. She was getting up to 15 emails a day from these individuals who would take on different personas, as if they were different friends of the person she was thought she was dating online, who would be asking her to do things. And so at the end of it, she's effectively bankrupt, owed her friends and family money. So it's not really folks that just have a lot of money to spare. It's people that are being bilked of their life savings and their family and friends' life savings.
And what are some of this, what are they, telling these victims that are getting them to send them money?
There are examples. I don't want to get outside the four corners of the complaint, but there are examples in the complaint specifically of the type of allegations that are made and claims that are made. Essentially, they'll say anything they can to get money out of individuals. Sometimes it's I need the money for a particular purpose. Sometimes it's, I've uncovered a bag of diamonds in this foreign country. I need to get it out of the country. I need your help. It's any scam that they think will work to get money from the victims.
And those romance scams come full circle and connect back to the BECs?
No, the BECs are the fraudsters will employ any type of fraud to get money out of the victims. The BECs are a particular type of scam which targets businesses, typically goes after those individuals who would send out wire transfers from a legitimate business, intercept emails, and direct them to send wire transfers to supply vendors, for example, to a fraudulent bank account that has a very similar name, for example, of their normal vendor, to send money there, and then they get the money out.
They should separate those two.
Yes, the romance scams are a separate type of scheme. Yes, ma'am. There are examples in the complaint in which the con men pretended to be servicemen, U.S. servicemen, for example, a doctor, a U.S. serviceman serving as a doctor overseas, who I think in that case was also claimed to be a widower. And there were other examples where they pretended to be U.S. servicemen overseas.
Are these all done through emails, the romance scams?
Emails, yes.
Just emails. And for BEC, you mentioned that a lot of the victims are never recouped the money that they lost. Does that include the businesses, even though it was no fault of their own? I mean, their website seemed to be like spoofed, and they thought they were sending it to a legitimate.
Yeah, once the money goes from once a legitimate business is tricked into wiring money into a bank account, the fraudsters try to get the money out of that bank account as quickly as they can, whether they either withdraw it in cash or cashier's check, or they transfer it to another bank account. So once it goes, it becomes very hard to stop it, and it eventually ends up in bank accounts in Nigeria.
So even with this indictment, there's not going to be any recoup of loss for any of these victims?
Some of the money that was involved, the banks were able to stop the transfers, and so for those victims, that money didn't leave the country. But others where the money left the country, it's going to be very difficult to recoup.
And so the vast majority of these scams with the BEC type
I'm not sure about half. About half.
Is the Nigerian government cooperating with extradition?
Extradition, we do have we have been successful in extraditing Nigerian citizens in the past, and we're going to make every effort in this case to extradite the defendants who we believe are in Nigeria now.
Are there any arraignments expected today?
I think we'll have initial appearances this afternoon. This morning at 11. Anything else?
Can we do some Spanish, please?
Yeah, we'll have that.
Have you been able to trace work they're doing on the back end with these large sums of money? Are they funding militias or, terrorist activity or anything like that? What's going on in these large sums of money in the back end?
Yeah, I can't speak to anything outside the current indictment and the criminal complaint. Sorry. Okay.
All right, let's wrap up this phase and we'll, is Telemundo ready?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so we'll do the Spanish language part. And then if anybody wants a walkthrough of these descriptive charts over here, we'll do it after the Spanish, which will only take a couple of minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agent Luna,
Sir,
front and center, sir.
you wanna move it? Gonna be in the same place?
Yes.
If anyone's gonna want, okay, so after Spanish.
Let's do Spanish real quick and then we'll
Okay,
do
it'll
one-on-ones
my
over
turn,
here or
so-
whatever.
Yeah, 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 that.
So just give us a couple minutes to do that.
Just one question of like,
Just for me or him?
for you.
Yeah.
The statistics of the millions of dollars of the fraud was.
You never gave me those pictures. You never gave me those pictures.
Roughly the past 3
You
years.
take them, but then you never give them.
The
I
statistic,
had 14,000. The first month of the 26th.
let's have the FBI talk about that. I'm not sure where that number came from. All right, so let's have a little quiet in here so we can do the Spanish language. So Special Agent Miguel Luna has a brief statement, take a couple questions, and then anybody that wants over here.
Cuando estén listos. Okay. Muy buenos días, mi nombre es Miguel Luna, yo soy un agente especial del FBI aquí en Los Ángeles. El FBI quisiera anunciar el arresto de 14 individuos, 11 locales, en relación de 252 artículos de acusaciones que fueron hechas aquí en Los Ángeles. Esas acusaciones cargan a estos individuos con diferentes cargos relacionados a fraude bancario y lavado de dinero relacionado con cargos de cybercrime.
¿De dónde son estos víctimas, estos sospechosos?
La mayoría de estos sospechosos